If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome, everybody, to the Dynasty Pulse right here, exclusively premiered on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Watch for us, Dynasty Pulse After Dark, over on the Undroppables and Fantasy Football Plus as well. We have a great show. We're going to be talking about our reactions, risers and fallers, etc., from the NFL Scouting Combine 2025. A lot of you might know it, but it happened last weekend over in Indianapolis, Indiana. There were a bunch of people out there. They were shooting video for us, taking some analysis, writing down what the players were doing. And so we've coalesced all of that information into hot takes for your edification. The Dynasty Pulse, come for the fantasy football analysis, stay for the euphemisms and innuendo. How you guys doing?
We're doing awesome, bigz, and we got an action-packed show tonight. We got a special guest from Fantasy Pros, none other than DBro. So let's get him in here right away.
Brown is in the house. What's going on, DBro?
Boys, that was one hell of an intro. That was nice. Whoever does the graphics, tip of the cap to, because that was wonderful, man. You kept my ugly face out of it, put the Abby, and made it snazzy, boys. So, hey, you had me here on your one time before. Glad to be back. Amazingly surprised I'm back, but nonetheless, ready to talk ball.
Yes. I think Grindberg takes credit for those videos. I think it's his mom.
She doesn't work right now. Yeah, she helps me in the background. So, yeah, she helps put everything together. No,
that might be more impressive than you doing them, though, Grindberg.
It is, yeah.
I mean, seriously, in the day and age, like what your mom's would be, what? I mean, pushing 55. I don't know how old she is. I don't want to say anything out of place. But, I mean, in this day and age, to be able to cut videos.
I'm pushing 55. God damn
it. Okay, let's get real now. She doesn't cut my work. She doesn't do my work for me, guys. She doesn't write my show sheets. She is just a supporter. But we got a great show ahead of us today. And we're here. We're here to talk about the Combine. And we got some probing questions for our guest of honor here, DBro. Let's start it off with Schultzy. Schultzy, you got a question for DBro?
I do. All right. So, DBro, we got a duo coming out of Iowa State here. And as a result of playing at Iowa State, they are not exactly or weren't exactly household names. And I'm talking Jayden Higgins and Jalen Noel here. But during every step of my evaluation, they have just continued to bump themselves up and up and up. After the Combine, we're sitting here and I'm in the same boat. They both absolutely smashed. We got Jayden Higgins, RAS score 9.87. He ran a 4.47 40 at 6'4". He's not to be outdone by his teammate here, who had an RAS at 9.58. And the only reason that's knocked a little is because of his size, right?
Yep.
Huge Combine winner, Jalen Noel, 4.39 40, 41.5-inch vert, 11-foot, 2-inch broad jump. All of those were in the elite category. On the RAS scale. He also knocked out 23 bench reps. The bench reps and both of his jump numbers, the vert and the broad jump, tied for best or were the best at the Combine for wide receivers. How high can these two dudes go, and are they officially on the map?
I love both of them. I was talking about them, chirping about both of them before Senior Bowl. So to see them back it up with action at the Combine was absolutely fantastic, dude. And that's those two players, and I think like a swath of these wide receivers in the second and third tier of this class leads me to be out there in the streets. And I hate the narrative that this is a bad wide receiver class. I will push back against that.
Same.
I think this class is good. Now, in saying that, are there any elites of this class on paper and analytics and how people are talking about them? No. Outside of, we want to make the conversation for Travis Hunter, whatever he plays or doesn't play and stuff like that. I really love this class. Like Noel and Jayden Higgins have second round draft grades from me. I think both of them are firmly on the map to go inside of the top 60 players. And Jalen Noel, man, what do you want else for him to do? He went out and he crushed in his final season in Iowa. You look at the analytics. He pops off the analytics. You look at the film. He's awesome. He plays primarily in the slot. I don't give a crap that he's 5'9". That does not matter to me. He went out there and tested like a beast. I think that he could play on the outside. Now, am I saying that is he an 80% outside player? No. I think the best you're asking for is 50-50. Like I said it before, my comp for Jalen Noel walking into the Combine and everything was Khalil Shakir. I'm bumping that up because, again, that doesn't really hold water now because he is way more athletic than Khalil Shakir. So I got to sit here and readjust my comp for him. But I will say this about Noel before we talk about Higgins a little bit. I've said this before the Combine, and I'm going to say it again here. I'm not projecting that he's the next Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I will not be shocked at all if he actually is. I see a few bug eyes there. But hey, anybody call me on this. If you think I'm wrong, if you think that this is just me going crazy, please.
No, we're all.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, yo, talk dirty to us, man.
Yeah,
we're
love
here.
It. We're all here for it.
Shador, what's the deal? Come on.
Oh, I almost changed my kid's name to some amalgamation of Jalen Noel and Jayden Higgins. So just hearing you come on here and say this as someone who I've followed for such a long time, I feel so vindicated and seen.
Oh, that's glorious. I thought you were going to call me crazy, which, dude, many people have, and it will not be the first and the last time, man. But
we're all going to have bad takes,
dude.
But here's the deal. When you talk about guys I like, I just, honestly, I froze a little bit. I rebooted. Now we're back here. So I don't want to derail us. I want you to sing the praises of my two adopted sons, Jayden Higgins and Jalen Noel, and I don't want to derail us anymore.
And there's a custody battle. Chev wasn't surprised by he wasn't shocked by your take. He was so happy.
I saw Chev's eyes got this big, so I was like, I don't know whether I'm preaching crazy sauce or he's loving it. So
no, he was impressed.
That's just how the old LBK works, buddy.
Dude, I'm telling y'all this. The narratives around every class and the narratives in this echo chamber around people talking about prospects, it's every single year. Mm-hmm. And that is why the best thing I could tell people is if you have a process and you feel confident in it, and it's proof is in the pudding. Like I feel good about my process. My track record speaks for itself over the last few seasons. And people can say that as well about hits and misses. Now, are we going to bat 1,000? Hell no, man. But this is like, if you get 50% right, you're freaking elite. You get 33%, this is like baseball. Then you're also doing really damn good, okay? And when this all comes back, dude, it's like, I don't care. Like, I think a lot of people look at it as maybe not a detriment, but I think it's one of the pluses of how I approach these prospects. I don't watch a lick of college tape. I walk into this and I'm playing catch up. So I'm not struck by all these narratives of people being like, I watched this guy for 3 years. I've seen him transfer 3 different times and fail. I don't give a shit about any of that. I care about how does your film stack up? How's your analytics and everything in between? And that's what tells the tale of how I'm going to rank guys, how I look at guys, how I'm projecting guys, and the comps that I give them. So Jalen Noel and Jayden Higgins are really damn good prospects, dude. Talked a lot about Noel, but I think that he could be the next Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I will stand pat on that. I think that's his ceiling. Is that his median range of outcomes? No. But Jayden Higgins, this dude's also a freaking stud, and you can pull up whether it's you want to talk about the analytics for him or you want to talk about the film. I've said it before. if you put this guy into a power slot role in day one, we are talking about slant god 2.0. This dude just freaking wins with his size. He knows how to run routes. He's quicker. And the way that he tested proved all of this. He's quicker than people give him credit. If this dude would have been going to like a damn SEC college and add that on to Jalen Noel, if these guys would not have been at Iowa State and they'd have been a damn SEC college, everybody would be shitting their pants to talk about how they're first-round prospects. But because they're not going to the helmet colleges, people bump these dudes down. And I'm sorry, I think it's really damn impressive for Jayden Higgins over the last 2 years. 27th, 16th in yards per route run, 1st and 18th in PFF receiving grade, as well as if you get further into it, the dude has a 2.2% drop rate or lower in each of the last 3 seasons and a 55.5% contested catch rate in college. That is all freaking stellar. Now you match that up with the fact that he tested really well. Dude, I think he can play outside. I have some questions about him as a downfield receiver, Higgins specifically, only because we didn't see it a ton. Now, while I think his route running is extremely refined in the short and intermediate, and I talked about putting him into a power slot role, and this dude's going to earn 130 targets, but getting him downfield, I think that you look at the route nuance, the variations, how he sets up corners, how he gets their blind spot, all of these parts are pieces. My only worry about him was, did he have enough juice to consistently stack dudes if they put him on 9s and things like that? You could still get him deep on posts and deep overs, not worried about any of that. But specifically, if you ask him to go outside on the perimeter, go run a 9 route and win, did he have enough juice to get over the top? And he does. Didn't do it a ton at Iowa State. I think that's more of a function or a fallout of Rocco Bech for both of these players, as well as being held back by the quarterback, than it is anything about their skill set or talent.
Yeah. I fell into these guys a couple of years ago when I was picking up Rocco Bech all over the place as a freshman starter in Campus to Canton leagues. Started watching Iowa State games because they're on. Viewers are probably getting really tired of us talking about Jayden Higgins and Jalen Noel because we've been doing it for so long. So Jayden Higgins was my guy to watch going down to the Senior Bowl. We're in mobile. We're watching the practice sessions, and you saw the reps that I saw. There was one where he was lined up on the outside on the right-hand side. Mm-hmm. He used footwork to break down the cornerback, got past him, in for a touchdown. He did the same thing in the game where he's in the end zone on a 9. There's an underthrown ball. He boxed out the receiver, he boxed out the defensive back, let him pass him, boxed him out, and then came down with the ball. I watched him win at every spot on the field. He was winning in the middle. He was winning on the outside. There was a catch he made where he was on the left-hand side during there wasn't a defensive back.
You're talking about Higgins or Noel?
Higgins.
Okay. Yeah.
Higgins is lined up on the left-hand side. He runs a little out route, and body twisting catch in the air, comes down with it. I'm like, okay, I came here for this. I'm seeing it. He made a linebacker fall down. He was beating every single corner that they put on him. And then, surprise, surprise, everything comes out. All of the buzz from the people in the fantasy space, and even the MVP awards that were given by the squad that they were playing against were giving it to Jalen Noel. I was like, why isn't anybody talking about Jayden Higgins? I saw these things that he was doing on the field. Rocco Bech is going to get there. He was a sophomore last year. He's my guy to watch over the next couple of years. I love him.
We'll see.
But he absolutely made Jayden Higgins and Jalen Noel function. They looked great at the Senior Bowl. They were off the charts at the Combine. Everybody on this show has come on board the Jayden Higgins, the Iowa State Cyclones wide receiver train. And so we're all very glad to hear that your analysis is the same. And now, instead of not hearing his name at all, I'm hearing stuff about him every single day. And it just makes the price that I'm going to pay to have him on every team in fantasy in 2025.
Can I put some respect on his name too? Like, I've got Jalen Noel as wide receiver 4 in this class above Matthew Golden. I want to put that out there.
Okay, that's bold. That's bold. That's a bold take. Take.
I mean, if this guy lost a rep in Mobile, it must have been when I went to the damn bathroom because I didn't see it.
Coach, you have a follow-up question here?
Yep. DBro, team scheme and fit. Today we have Christian Kirk out, Evan Ingram out in Jacksonville for Jalen Noel as a complement to BTJ. What do you think of that for Jacksonville? Are there some teams where it's team scheme and fit that you see fit for Jalen Noel that would be spicy?
Jacksonville would be pure sex. I would love that. Looking at some other teams here, depending on what happens with T. Higgins, please send him to Cincinnati. I would absolutely love that for either one of these players, because apparently Jermaine Burton can't get his head screwed on right, and he's not going to be a thing in the NFL, much less I don't even know if he's going to be on the roster. Dude, if Dallas doesn't go with round one wide receiver, they need somebody to step up opposite of freaking CeeDee Lamb. Send one of these guys to freaking Dallas, man. Denver needs another guy. I mean, that's just off the top of my head, dude. Like any one of those spots, I would be immensely happy. And that's not even bringing up the Rams, man. The Rams, I mean, look, they're going to move on from Cooper Kupp. Do we really think Jordan Whittington is going to be that dude? Could he be? Maybe. But Puka Nacua needs a running mate, man.
Emeka Ibuka.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on Emeka. We'll talk about him. That's
dirty, man.
Cooper Kupp replacement I want right now, baby.
We will get there. We will get there in the after dark when we talk about our wide receivers. Now, Chev, you've been itching at the bit here to ask DBro a question. Let's get at it.
Now, first things first, Derek, DBro, Mr. Brown, if you're nasty. I want to go back to a moment in time, July of 2024. I'm listening to a rookie episode, and I remember Pat Fitzmaurice grilling you about your ranking of Jayden Daniels, and you said on the episode, in no uncertain terms, you would select Jayden Daniels ahead of Kyler Murray. And you said on the episode, I'm going to go change my rankings right now because you had Kyler Murray ahead of Jayden Higgins. So first of all, I want to get my platitudes out of the way and give you your flowers for doing that. Now, Mr. Brown, if you're nasty. Now that the Underwear Olympics have ended, who's the guy you walked away from the combine feeling most vindicated about what you saw on tape regarding their athleticism? And on the flip side, who's a guy that you expected to confirm your priors on that let you down? The floor is yours, sir.
All right. So I'll lead off with the let me down. I thought Kaleb Johnson was faster than that. I'll say this. Now, am I worried about Kaleb Johnson because he ran a mid 4.5? No, I'm not. He's not a track guy. You could see that he was slow getting at the blocks. Not all these dudes are track stars in high school. The ones that don't know how to run it, can go run the 40, have at it, man. But the fact that he still got 22.2 miles an hour tells me everything I need to know about Kaleb Johnson. But I was very disappointed, just because I think it was after that he ran the poor 40 to start out, didn't run it anymore, didn't do anything for testing. Like basically his agent was probably like, nah, we're shutting this down, man. We're not going to ruin your draft capital. Nah, loaded running back class. But so that one definitely hurt. For as far as guys, I'm going to go deeper, man. I'm going to go deep with this one, dude. And a guy that I've been chatting, really, really chatty about on out on the X machine, a guy that I really like in this class. Now, I don't have him ranked like aggressively inside of my top 10, my top 8, because I don't know where his draft capital goes. But if you're telling me this man goes in round 4 of the NFL draft, I'm probably bumping him up even higher than I already have him. I was elated to see Marcus Yarns and what he put up on field. I know people might not be familiar with FCS running back Marcus Yarns out of Delaware. This dude can ball, man. Like he is a weapon. He's got enough size, and we're living in a new world of the NFL, boys, where you don't have to be 200 pounds to be a workhorse back in the NFL. Hello, Kyron Williams, Austin Eckler, and Bucky Irving. Hold my beer, and let's enjoy just giving talented players the freaking football, man. So seeing Marcus Yarns go out there and test really well, look like the guy that I thought he was going to be, and you add his pass game utility on top of it, dude, I freaking love him.
Feels like a kind of Danny Woodhead type player to go back a little bit further, does it not?
Dude, I think he's James Cook.
Ooh, that's even
I think
better.
I think he's James Cook. Now, I don't know if he gets the draft capital of James Cook, highly doubtful, because again, he's coming from Delaware, so he's got to pay that Delaware tax. He ain't coming from Georgia, so he's not going to go second round. But can we please live in a world where Marcus Yarns goes 4th round of the NFL draft? Please. Can we live in that world? I want to live in that world.
Let's go.
He's the new Lan Larison.
Let's go. Coach, you got anything? You got anything to follow with that?
Yeah, man, I love everything you're saying, man. Debo, just way to go deeper on Marcus Yarns. Like you say, in this world, day 3 draft capital. It's funny, Debo, how do you feel about the narrative of if you're selected on a day 3 as a running back, it's not near the same indictment as prior years because of how loaded and deep this class is, a la somebody like Marcus Yarns.
Yep, I adamantly agree about that. And the thing about draft capital is it buys you opportunities. And we see guys buck that draft capital. Hello, Bucky Irving. Just last year. I mean, if you could play, talent finds a way, baby. I mean, we see that year after year after year. Talent finds a way. You go through all of these NFL rosters. How many of these guys are round 5, UDFA, round 4? They come out of the woodwork, man, because talent does find a way. So, yes, especially in this deep of a running back class, where it's like, bro, like you got like legit, like I'm looking at rankings right now. You got up to like 16. You could maybe make a case for 20 running backs in this class that, like, whether you like their skill set, could they go in the top 4 rounds of the NFL draft? Somebody's got to get squeezed. We're going to find out who it is in a few weeks. But like in this class, yeah, man, like that's the difference in somebody like Yarns or my other dude, similar archetype, but different cat, Brashard Smith. Those kind of guys did nothing but help themselves. So if NFL teams, and I want to be very clear about this, NFL teams already got their grades on dudes. They don't watch their film. Their scouts have gone to these guys. So like any buzz you hear about guys going up the board for most of these guys. Now some of these situations are a little bit different with brand new head coaches and they got to get things assembled. So they're behind the 8 ball. But the other teams, they've already done their homework. So you're hearing, oh, this guy's rising up the board. No. Nobody's rising up any damn board. That's all media stuff and agents and whatever. Teams got their grades on dudes. But this all comes back to when you see these guys test well, could they be in a similar tier to a lot of other, as far as on a team's board, and they say, okay, fine. Well, so-and-so and so-and-so is on the board right now. Who are we going with? All right, well, he ran a little bit better. He tested a little bit better. We feel good about talking to him at the combine versus this other guy. Splitting hairs like that might make the difference between whether you go round 4 or round 5.
Are there more players than chairs, though? Do you think that's something that
definitely. No, that's definitely true. Especially, but I think you're going to see this, like, culling of the herd after this season where like a lot of these veteran dudes have been holding on and things like that. That's going to, they're gone. You know what I mean? You're probably going to see that more before rosters and stuff like that. Like Zeke, go ahead and put in your retirement papers. You're not going to sit here and be on an NFL roster next year. You know, other players like Jeremy McNichols, as good as he was, maybe he doesn't find because a team like Washington drafts a guy, maybe drafts another guy in round 5. Who knows, man? So you're going to see, yes, Kendre Miller, welcome to the unemployment line, unfortunately, because you can't stay healthy, man. So, you know, a lot of these guys are going to get usurped, these RB2s, RB3s. Like, we all feel really good about what Tyrone Tracy did last year. What is precluding the Giants from taking another middle round back in this year's draft? Nothing.
Yeah, no kidding. It's exactly. And it's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of backfields. It's going to look a lot different this year. And DBro, you kind of touched base a little bit about your Kaleb Johnson take. I'm going to get you to dig a little bit deeper here because I want to know your take. Because I know before the combine, I think you had him as your RB2 headed in.
Still my RB2.
He's still your RB2. So I'm going to get you to kind of dig a little bit deeper in there because, you know, he had a great season last year. And, you know, 2 years in college, really, 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns over 3 seasons at Iowa. His breakout junior year saw him lead the nation in rushing through 4 games, known for his powerful downhill running ability to wear down defenses. However, his combine, it didn't match his hype. 4.57 40-yard dash. It was slower than expected. His 1.62 second 10-yard split was the slowest of all the prospects. So DBro, Chev is really starting to wonder if he's going to need a parachute because I see him jumping off a cliff at this stage with the roller coaster that Kaleb Johnson has put him on this offseason. So with all the buzz heading into this season, how are you seeing his athleticism that doesn't match his college production, he's still your number 2 running back. So, dig a little deeper on that and why.
So, Chev, I'm going to tell you, we're going to be okay, baby. We're going to be all right. All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
The boat ain't got leaks. We ain't sinking. Everything's cool. We riding to paradise. Okay. So I just want to get that out there. Okay.
All right.
Kaleb Johnson still, per next gen stats, posted the 6th best acceleration, and he still hit 22.2 miles per hour. The fact that he's not a track star, the fact that he also came in because guess what, boys? We all thought Kaleb Johnson played somewhere around the 2 teens, maybe 215, 217. Dude weighed in at 225. You don't see guys usually go to the combine and weigh in heavier than what we thought their playing weight was. So they usually come in a little bit svelte. Like, oh, shit, he dropped 10, 12 pounds. Well, there you go. There's 40 looks a little bit better. So for me, as well as some of these dudes, and again, I'm going to go back to this, they are not track stars. This is not what they have done. These guys, like a lot of them, yeah, for sure. You're really freaking fast on a football field. You're really freaking fast on a track meet at a track meet. Okay, that makes a lot of common sense, but not everybody is a track star. So running the 40, it's like you're prepping for the damn Olympics. You ain't got no pads on. It's about your technique, how much time you're spending on this and stuff. So we don't know what Kaleb Johnson was working on. Like, what is the big priority for him? He could have been like, I'm in the weight room just crushing it. I'm working on speed stuff, but getting out off the blocks for a 40 is different than rocking the pads and running out the backfield. So I'm not worried for a running back of Kaleb Johnson's size, weighing in at 225, again, hitting over 22 miles an hour per next gen stats. I am not worried about that man. I'm going to go back to the analytics. I'm going to lean on the film. And for a player that was 8th in yards after contact per attempt, 5th in breakaway run rate, and 14th in elusive rating last year at Iowa, I do not give one shit that he ran a 4.5.
Yeah, dude, that's totally fair. He's been a tough evaluation. I'm not as much of a roller coaster as Chev's been on over there, but yeah, no, sometimes I'm like, dude, this guy is going to absolutely crush it no matter what. But then I have times where I do question things slightly. So for me, in this instance, I'm going to probably end up falling back on draft capital a lot here.
That might make the difference between him going round 1 versus round 2. And
right,
when you're looking at some teams, if they dig into it, do they look at him as a scheme fit? Like if you're talking about a team that's operating with more wide zone versus duo and things of that nature, inside zone and stuff like that, like could that make the difference in his draft capital? Yes, it could. So maybe Kaleb goes round 2. I don't think he's falling outside of round 2. Like let's not get it twisted. I don't think that happens.
The thing that you brought up that hit my ears was when you talked about the technique. A lot of people have been steaming up Harold Fannin Jr. and noted that he had a terrible 40 time. He still hit 21.8 miles an hour at top speed running that 40. Then you have, on the other hand, a guy, you mentioned track stars. You had Arian Smith, who was supposed to kind of work through his drop issues and lack of volume and go out there and blow away a sub 4.3 40. He's run 4.28 in high school, was a high school track star, etc. Goes out and runs a 4.36, which was a good 0.15 seconds slower than what was expected. So Kaleb Johnson hitting that top speed, the AWS stats, a lot of the NFL teams, like you said, the scouting departments know what they've been looking at for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years. They have those AWS stats. They're being fed by Amazon. So yeah, they're pretty well locked in, depending on how the draft board.
Well, Bigz, you remember seeing, not just because I know he's the low hanging fruit of this kind of conversation, but Bigz, you remember? Did you see the clip when the Rams were talking about when they had Puka Nacua and they were going to select him, and they said he's one of those guys, he ain't going to run the 40 well, but the miles per hour checks out, and so does the game film.
Right?
Like, yeah, okay. When we get a peek from behind the curtain and we hear NFL teams talk like this, then why are we all like, that doesn't matter. It's the 40 time, baby. Like, come on, man.
I think a lot of it is guys want to plant their flag with their take. And
we want to confirm some bias and fade a guy they didn't like to begin with. Okay, yeah. There's a lot of that going on, but usually that's a conversation around Shadur Sanders. So
I got a question for you, and I'm going to shift the kind of target to draft strategy. So we've seen that this is a huge, deep running back class. There are about 18 who reach the minimum thresholds for fantasy football production. We know there are only a handful of wide receivers that will make an early impact. We know that there's maybe 3 quarterbacks who are going to do the same. Are you considering position scarcity going into your rookie draft valuations? It seems like it makes the most sense to load up on wide receivers and quarterbacks early and then start to hoard running backs later on in the back end of the second round, the third round, the fourth round. And that kind of also speaks to the kind of trade strategy in your draft room. Be trading back because you can stack up third and fourth rounders, and there are so many running backs who are going to be there for you.
Yeah, I think looking at this before we know draft capital, I think draft capital is going to sift out some of that for us once we get that, and how we feel about like the basically the 4th and 5th tier of kind of this class and stuff like that. Like, is Cam Scatabo going to be around 4 pick, or does he fall to round 5? Is Dylan Sampson going to run or not run? And does he go round 3 or does he go round 5? You know, things like that. Like, where does Marcus Yarns, like I talked about, where does he go? Where does this 2nd and 3rd tier of wide receivers go? So I think looking at the class right now without us knowing draft capital and kind of sifting things out after that, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that lines up because, I mean, to be honest, man, like I just said, there's 16 to 20 running backs you can make a case of like, oh, shit, I like this guy. Versus like after wide receiver 10 of this class, I'm kind of like, I'm out, baby. You get past back like Jack Bech, I have him as my wide receiver 10, and I'm just like, nah, y'all can keep the rest of these dudes. I'm good with it. Savion Williams, let somebody else go with him. To Restrepo, nah, I saw him get strapped up in Mobile. I'm good. Like I don't need him, man. Like, so I think that looking at depending on what you need, it is very, very scarce at wide receiver. I think it's also the top 3 tight ends of this class have really distanced themselves. Now we shall see what Gunnar Helm runs at his pro day and evaluate that. I did not think he was a freaking 4.84 guy. So the ankle injury coming out definitely was nice to see. And I believe it. I believe it because I don't think we watch his film that he's a 4.84 guy. I think he's got 4.7, maybe low 4.7 speed, you know, enough to get by. But again, going back to the tight end class, for me, it's the top 3 dudes that are going to be real difference makers. And then there's everybody freaking else. Like, I'm not trying to crap on Mason Taylor, but you watch his film and stuff like that. You look at his analytics, like what screams high end upside outside of like, okay, we know fruit of the loins of Jason Taylor. Outside of that, like I ain't seeing it, man. Like, I think he's going to be a solid tertiary option for an offense, can beat zone coverage, get open underneath. He's not a difference maker though. Like, I look at him as like, okay, if he falls into top 12 production in 1 year, okay, have at it and trade him away because he probably ain't going to do it again. So yeah, I think there's more scarcity at wide receiver. The top 3 tight ends are really distancing themselves, and there's only 3 quarterbacks really in this class we got to talk about. I like Tyler Shuck, but I ain't putting him in the same tier as the top 3 guys. I mean, I'm sorry, I haven't been day drinking.
But that makes drafting way more fun, though, or talking about fantasy, or just arguing in general. So I love that. I mean, I love that point. To Biggs' point, I mean, one thing that I've been really consistent about is saying that this is a year to get that mid-round draft capital because there are so many good running backs.
Dude, I want all the seconds I possibly can, Chev.
Yeah,
I really do, man.
Seconds and thirds and seconds and thirds and just as many as you can possibly get. Like, you're going to come away with value. It's like throwing dynamite in the water and saying you're going fishing when it comes to this running back class. Like, there's just so many good running backs. So I guess, to close this out a little bit, I guess, who is the guy like in that second and third round range? Like, I'm sure you're doing mock drafts quite a bit. Who is the guy in that second, third round range that you feel like you have to walk away with?
Oh man. There's a few different guys, and so in the second round range, I just finished his tape last night. Dude, I am over the moon for freaking DJ Giddens. I love him so damn much. It's always it's really interesting when you get into this and you get into deeper of the class, or there's like names and you hear stuff, or they're not highly, like they're not ballyhooed guys, or maybe they're polarizing. And you're like, all right, I don't know. I'm walking into this because, like, you know, you hear like, oh, Tet and everything like that. Okay, well, the film's probably going to be really good. I love it when I get to guys' film in certain classes and I'm just sitting there watching and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm feeling some kind of way watching this. Like, and there are two guys in this class that absolutely jump out in that realm for me. DJ Giddens is freaking awesome, man. Like, I had a placeholder ranking for him. And dude, tell me if I'm wrong, boys. Do you see anybody out there in social media or the NFL draft community hyping up DJ Giddens? I don't, but they sure as hell should be. He's really good, man. Like, the way he moves in the second level and the way that he can plant and change direction and create yards for himself, and as creative as a runner as he is, because that is the one skill that I love out of running backs that translates. You tackle breaking and the ability to create yards for yourself. If you can do that shit, it doesn't matter what offensive line you go to. You're going to succeed because you have the ability to create yards for yourself. And that man can put his foot in the on the damn field, plant and go. And his ability to both weave through defenders in the second level, and really for as upright as he runs, his contact balance is crazy underrated, dude. I posted a clip out on X last night where he gets smacked and spins out of a tackle, puts his hand on the ground, picks himself up, and he gets 8 more damn yards after he got hit, just dragging fools along with him. I really love him, but the other guy I'm going to bring up here, man, is hold on, I got to collect myself here a little bit after DJ Giddens. The other guy that I'm going to sit here and stand for, it all comes back to a player that I feel like, again, has not been talked about near enough, and I think a lot of people are going to expect that I pick up, you know, it's going to be Bashal Tootin for me. But, like, dude, if I'm sitting in the third round, I'm going to talk about my dude, Jalen Royals, who, again, going to Mobile. And I think it really needs to be mentioned for Jalen Royals that you turn on his film, and I get it's Utah State. This dude has rack ability for days. You put the ball in his hands. There are a lot of guys in this class that I think are arbitrage plays off of each other. Like, I think Tre Harris, who is my wide receiver 2 in this class. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I freaking love that man. Tre Harris is a baller. He's a guy that I could easily get on the pulpit and just stand up and scream to the heavens about, because, dude, it's analytically, it's film. It doesn't matter what you want to talk about with that dude. I love all of it. He ain't a one-year wonder either if you want to look at the analytics. But Jalen Royals is the arbitrage play off of Tre Harris. You put the ball in his hands, he's going to create yards. He can create yak. He's got speed. And for a guy you want to see coming out of freaking Utah State, no star recruit, went to freaking Georgia Military Academy and transferred to Utah State. You want to see at the Senior Bowl, you want to see him win versus better competition. And he did it. And he did it at a less than 100%. I talked to him at the podium there, and I talked to him at the podium at the combine. He's still not 100%, and he went and ran a mid 4.4. He went out and posted I think it was a 9.07 RAS. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong with that. But testing like that, winning in Mobile, because he wasn't able to draw upon his raw speed. You saw the dude winning with route nuance and his release package off the line. So you're telling me, okay, I got questions about this dude coming out of a small school. How explosive is he? Can he get open versus better corners? He did all of that shit while still hurt. And it wasn't the foot that ended the season, but it was a soft tissue injury. I want to clarify that too, because people be like, oh, is it the foot? Well, that could be problematic because that's what ended his season. It's not the foot injury. So Jalen Royals, definitely somebody that has to get brought up in that conversation. And DJ Giddens, and I got to get a shout out to Tre Harris, because I think, again, we want to talk about the top end of this class, and people are like, man, I don't know. This class isn't that good. This wide receivers aren't that good. Tre Harris is going to put people on lock, man. He's going to show people what's up. And I got one of the most elite quotes out of that man. He is a soul snatcher. He talked about it at the combine. I was backflipping after he made that. I was like, oh, shit, this is so good.
Love it. Coach.
We are bricked up in the cement all together, DBro.
Yeah, baby.
Welcome.
Oh, you Tre Harris fan?
Oh, we all are.
Tell
yeah.
him.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, let's go.
Yes.
All right, Coach. You have the floor now, buddy.
Hey, and I love the DJ Giddens call. Just laughable in this class. He's
not
under the
getting
radar.
talked about. Am I
It's
wrong?
insane. It's insane. Absolutely.
God,
Now, DBro,
man.
one of my favorite episodes of all time that really got me locked in on this prospecting thing, this college into the NFL, is the episode you did years ago. I think it was 2020. You and Ray just broke down. You were just going deep on all the
My
prospects.
man.
I
Ray's
forever
like a
loved
brother,
that
man.
show.
Love that boy.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Ray. Sometimes, DBro, in fantasy football, we're like the fly in Bug's Life, where we can't look away even if we get zapped. On that concept of we don't like to double count stats for priors that we already had. Are there one or two instances of players whose performances at the combine make it tempting to be overly excited for? So who is or are players who you're about to be irrational for, even if you risk getting zapped, aka you're willing to go down with the ship and truther for?
I think Tre Harris is one of those, because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like him, and I know he's polarizing. And I'm again, this goes back to I'm standing on process, man. Like and we go back to the testing. I do not care. I do not care. I will say this a million freaking times. I do not freaking care about his 4.5 40. That does not matter to me. At his size, at 6'2", 205, 4.5 is plenty fast enough to get open, to get deep. And even if you want to shade him and say he's not that great of an athlete, well, you're wrong, because he put up an 84th percentile or higher broad and vertical jump. So the dude has explosiveness. So I think Tre Harris is one of the guys I'm going to be planting the flag for. I easily can make a case again for Jalen Noel. My two other guys I'll kind of go back to on this. I talked about Marcus Yarns and how much I freaking love his game. He's a pass game weapon. I'm going to give somebody in the same kind of breath. I think he can be what everybody hoped they were getting out of Kenny Gainwell, but didn't get out of Kenny Gainwell, and that's Brashard Smith. This dude is freaking awesome, man. Ran a 4.39. He's got quicks. 1 year of playing running back at SMU after going to the U and playing slot wide receiver. I mean, you give me Brashard Smith or you give me Marcus Yarns in a committee, and you're telling me one of these guys gets good draft capital round 4 or higher, and we're off to the races, baby. Like Brashard Smith or Marcus Yarns, hell, both of them could easily walk into 70 targets in an offense. And it's because these guys are weapons. They can get out and actually run wide receiver routes. One of them happened to be a damn wide receiver before he went to running back. But the other guy, it's the same damn thing. And it stacks up on the analytics. It stacks up on the film. I love both of these guys. I've got Yarns. I don't know where consensus is on them, because I kind of put my head down. I stay with my process, and I don't listen to all the other echo chamber bullshit. So, like, honestly, I don't know where consensus is on them. I'm just going to say that I have Brashard Smith as my RB9 right now, and I have Marcus Yarns as my RB13 in the class.
See, I hear you talk about Yarns and Brashard Smith and their route running capabilities and everything, and I just hear Land Larison to the moon. Sorry.
We love that. Yeah, it's a interesting situation with these running backs, because it's such a deep class, and we're hearing a lot of rumblings of all these guys getting pick and play. So a lot of this is going to really come down to draft capital, obviously, and where these guys land. Great transition for our next segment here is after the combine, guys. Who's a guy that you need to have on your roster based off of your priors or based off of how they performed, whether good or bad, in the combine? DBro, you kind of mentioned a couple of guys already. You said Tre Harris, Marcus Yarns. I know you got Marcus Yarns down here. You want to, elaborate more? Or do you got anybody else on the slate there that you may see as a guy that you kind of need to have on your roster at this stage?
I'll give Yarns a little more shine, then I'll give you another name. Just to put pen to paper here, boys. Amongst all FBS and FCS running backs with at least 20 targets. So that is a really deep pool. Mr. Yarns was 35th and 7th in receiving grade over the last 2 years, 18th and 19th in yards per route run. That is against all FBS and FCS running backs. as well as he was 22nd in yards after contact per attempt last year. So dude can play, as well as he tested exactly the same as James Cook. But moving over to somebody else, I'll talk about my dog. Give me Jack Bech, man. I'm going to go out there on a limb for Jack Bech because, again, I don't think the film for Jack Bech really tells the full tale about Jack Bech. Because I wasn't that impressed with his film entering Mobile. For a player, played a lot of slot. For everybody that's not familiar with Jack Bech's story, his game, played a lot of slot at TCU. Before that, entering college, he was a tight end at LSU at the way back, then converted to wide receiver. So losing a lot of weight, not playing the position before. Jack Bech really crushed it at Mobile, man. And I think he's put that on top of it with really strong testing numbers. And he won in so many different ways in Mobile. They put him in the slot. He won on in-breakers, out-breakers. They put him outside. He could either separate or he won in contested situations. I mean, one of the best throws in Mobile, there wasn't many, but one of the best throws for Jalen Milroe in Mobile was a long one to Jack Bech, which really was Jack Bech going up and saying, dude, that ain't your ball, it's mine.
Yeah, he's the 75-25 contested catch guy.
Yep.
And you're preaching to the converted. This is a Jack Bech space here.
Love it, man. Jack Bech is a damn dog. He is going to enter an NFL locker room. His teammates are going to freaking love him. His coaches are going to love him. He is a tone setter. Like, you want to watch a dude, and this doesn't – I don't knock any wide receiver or running back for this, and I want to be very, very clear about this. People will get out in the space, and they'll say, oh, this wide receiver's kind of lazy. He's not running full speed whenever the ball's not going to him, especially when in college. You know, we got design plays. Guys are known first reads, things of that nature. And a lot of guys aren't running like, you know, I'm not saying half-hearted routes, but they ain't running full speed and trying to put somebody on skates when the ball's not coming to them. Jack Bech's ass is going to be blocking every single freaking play. He is going to run. He's going to give you 150 freaking %. And, dude, I know that doesn't count for fantasy points, but damn it, stuff like that could be the difference between him going round 4 of the NFL draft and round 3 of the NFL draft.
And being on the field, too.
Absolutely. I love everything that you just said so much, and we are going to expound upon this. So I love the comp between Marcus Yarns and James Cook. I'm looking at their RAS scores right now. They're almost identical, 8.99 to 8.80. Yarns is a little bit more explosive with 37.5-inch vertical. I've got to get into the tape on him, but that was a guy that popped in, you know, that you heard just little crumbs about because everybody was raving about, you know, the top
and
end
Chev,
of the
just to
running back
throw that
class.
out there, he I think it's still listed wrong on Raz right now. I think he's listed at 183. He actually weighed 193.
Yeah, they got it at 190. They got it right. They got it at 193 now.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure because I've
193.
seen it posted as 183 in some spots, and we would be having a different conversation for a 180-pound back versus a guy in the 190s scraping the 200s. So.
Yeah, a 183-pound back is a slot receiver, so we don't have to.
Yeah, it's a little too small.
We don't have to do too much there.
Yep.
So, and then with Jack Bech, I mean, this is a guy that just seems to he's just doing everything the right way. I mean, it's you know, obviously we know about the off the field, like the personal tragedy, and he's responded in a way that you would want for a guy in the locker room. And on top of that, every time you give him a chance to do something with the football, he does it, and he does it real nasty like. So that's a guy that I think just really embodies what you want to bring into your locker room, like you said before. And he's going to be a tone setter. I mean, you could use him like Ben Skoranek, but you could also use him like a guy like a guy that's going to dunk on you.
Use him like Puka. Put him in line and let his ass block and chip too, because that's part of Puka's skill set.
I mean, using him in the Ram, like the Rams spend a day 3 pick, a 4th round pick on him to come in. They use those condensed splits, and I mean, you're looking at not a 1-for-1 Cooper Kupp replacement because I mean Cooper Kupp's incredible. We can't put those expectations on him, but if he gets an opportunity, he's a great guy. I mean, he's going to produce, and you can get him in the 4th round of rookie drafts. I likened him a lot to Jalen Coker. What would you say about that?
Oh, dude, I was a cokehead before it was cool, man. I love Jalen Coker coming out. There's old tweets, man. I love that damn kid. He was one of my guys in the last class. I thought it was a damn travesty he went undrafted. I couldn't believe he went undrafted. Especially, I mean, like, wide receiver class is good. I really like that. I've struggled with my Jack Bech comp. The closest I've gotten to is Juwan Jennings, because I think there's a lot of different parts and pieces to his game. And to be honest, like we talked about, Chev, like, I think the best football for Jack Bech is still ahead of him in the sense of, like,
Absolutely.
I still think that there are ways and a lot that he is going to get better just because he hasn't played wide receiver, and we're still seeing the evolution of his game. And honestly, we've seen it in real time in this draft cycle so far.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, this is a guy that led LSU in receiving on a team with BTJ and Malik Neighbors.
As a tight end.
Yeah,
as a tight end. He played tight end there.
Hey man, we all became Jack Bech people because of the Senior Bowl, and now it's just like confirmed prior. And I mean, you get a little hesitant because of the helmet scouting, because TCU wide receivers just typically, I mean, Quentin Johnston might have ruined the profile for everybody.
That goes for Savion. That doesn't go for Jack Bech.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm lockstep with you on that, man. I can't. I'm glad that you brought that up. We're all Jack Bech people. As Big said, this is a Jack Bech safe space.
I love it, dude. I think it comes back to just a real simple quote. When people show you who they are, you believe them. And I think Jack Bech has showed everybody he's a dog. So everybody needs to freaking believe him.
All right, Schultzy, you got a burning question. You got not a question, but a player you got to get on your lineup. Who is it?
Ooh. Yeah, I'll keep it real quick here. Guy you're going to get pushing a little bit later in your drafts, but I'm going to be all over some Ty Felton here. You got a guy who's 6'1". He come in at the combine 183 listed, but like at 6'1", that's a frame with an NFL strength team that I think he can put on some weight, and you know that isn't going to be a concern if he can add to that frame, right? Absolutely killed the combine, elite scores in speed and explosiveness, 4.38 40, 9.6 overall RAS score. He's kind of in a similar boat as Jalen Noel, as the knock is the size, right? Like when you plug in the numbers, that's the only thing dragging him down. I mean, he's a good separator. He's good on his releases. He creates after the catch. For a guy of that profile to test with the speed and explosive scores that he did, I mean, I'm going to take some shots at this coming in late. I really wanted to I was going to talk Bechel too in here, but the steam has gotten real high here, and I couldn't justify saying you must walk away with him at where he's going to ended up drafting after that combine performance. So I'm shifting to Ty Felton. You can get him a little bit later here, and I think, you got a little bit of shades of some great value Matthew Golden here. So I'm going to take some shots late.
All right.
Good call.
All right. Who's next on here? We got
holy shit, Chev, you have the same damn player we just talked about. I'm scrolling down this and I didn't even know, baby.
Listen,
I didn't mean to take your thunder.
I came into this episode with high expectations and I left with a best friend. So I appreciate everything you said.
Go, baby.
and I would like to invite you to come do karate in the cement aisle with me after this is over with. So my player is Brashard Smith. As I laid in my bed not long ago, I was just pontificating on what I could talk to you about that would, just really get the people going. And I was counting bricks, and then there was one brick and it had Brashard Smith on it, and I just stared at it, and I couldn't get past the like this is my favorite player in the draft, period. Like full stop, no equivocations. And everybody knows how much I love Jayden Higgins. And like in scouting him, I found myself just being like, hey, let's get me to the next Brashard Smith touch. Get me there. Like I was like Tyrone Bigum's like, y'all got any more of those Brashard Smith touches? and like I just can't get past, like he's one of, like, I'm intrigued the most. And so I saw that he did have a meeting with the Broncos, and Sean Payton has been super duper vocal about getting a joker, be it a tight end or a pass catching running back. And he met with the Broncos at the combine. So yeah, my player is Brashard Smith. We are bricked up in the cement aisle. I'll call my doctor because it's going to be more than 4 hours, but I am not leaving.
Coach.
It, dude.
Hey, man, I love that call with Brashard Smith. You want that archetype, especially in fantasy football. We want that PPR goodness, that opportunity. I've been told that the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, by somebody else, that they're really not keen on archetypes of running backs like that, utilizing their running backs in the passing game. I think the Chiefs would be a phenomenal fit for Brashard Smith. Another one you spoke to, the Denver Broncos. And, of course, I'm trying to kick out Joe Mixon. We talked about all the different running backs who are going to come and go. Joe Mixon, I think we're just going to slowly push him to the side. Brashard Smith would be phenomenal for C.J. Stroud's resurgence and Houston Texans there. So love your call on Brashard Smith. I'm in lockstep with you. If I hear let me throw it to you, Chev and DBro. Discount Devon Achane. Is that sacrilege or is that on point?
I don't think he runs as physical as Achane. He wins in a different way. I can see it. I think he's more of a slasher kind of guy. But look, I mean, you look at the testing numbers in certain spots, they ain't off very far. Chev?
So the thing with the important thing to remember with Brashard Smith is that he's a career wide receiver that just moonlit at running back at Miami. Mm-hmm. And then he went to SMU and lit the world on fire in his first year playing running back. So like we talked about with Jack Bech, I think it's important to note that his best football is likely ahead of him as someone who is completely new to the position. But the athleticism, like the way that he's just a pure football player, and the way that he moves with the ball in his hands is going to be a problem at the next level. So I'm really hoping that he gets good enough draft capital. I'm cool with anything before round 5. Like I thought it might be round 3 at the earliest because this class is so deep. It's so many different positions. But anything before round 5, I am thrilled with. Even if it's the right landing spot in round 5, I'm great with. But this is a guy who we haven't seen the best of his running back days at all.
Skinny Tyrone Tracy, baby. That's where I would come down on it.
Well, he showed out pretty big there at the combine, so I'm excited to see where he goes. Now, I'm going to talk about a guy that we talked a little bit earlier on the show there. DBro is Tre Harris, and he's a guy that I must have. And even after the combine, I'm one as well that's not very scared about his 40 time. He did come in at 4.54, which isn't super fast, but there's a couple stats here that are intriguing to me. His yards per route run at 5.12, which was the best in the class, averaged over 5 yards per route run. That's huge. 95 PFF grade against man coverage. He dominated man, shows that he can win in tight situations. He had a 70% contested catch rate and only a 2% drop rate. His hands are solid. 16.1 yards per reception, 38-inch vertical. So he's got the size, and his speed is going to translate. He's going to be able to separate, and I think that his 40 is going to give me a little bit of a discount on him. So he's my wide receiver 3 in this class. I'm not quite as bullish as you are, DBro, on him, but
you're not far behind, bro.
I'm not far behind, and I like his situation, and I think he's going to land in a really good spot. So if he can get day 2 capital, I'm loving that.
When the film and the analytics all line up together, we should all be listening, and we should all take notice. And so Tre Harris, like you rattled off all these amazing numbers, 1st and 9th in yards per route run of the last 2 years. Against yards per route run against man coverage, he was 1st and 18th. Like, he's not a flash in the pan 1 year dude. Like, I never thought he had. It's literally in my write-up verbatim. Harris isn't a burner. He likely has 4.5 speed. I wrote this before the combine. I worry if he has enough raw speed to stack corners and go routes consistently, but that doesn't mean he is slow or that he can't get free downfield or doesn't have the requisite juice and route running, man. Like, I just look at him as the closest I could get on Tre Harris, because I see a lot of different parts to his game that I like. I think he's pretty damn close to Allen Robinson, but with better run after the catch.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
All right, bigz. Let's get your guy. I'm excited to hear about who you got to talk.
So
about.
I waffled a little bit. First, I had Jayden Higgins, but I feel like we've said enough about Jayden Higgins. He's a guy I'm not leaving my drafts without. And I threw Bech in there. Hesitate to talk about him because he's steaming up, and you're going to hear a lot about Bech. Both of those guys, incidentally, were targets of mine in our pre-Senior Bowl shows. They were my guys to watch at their positions, and they didn't let me down. Now, Bech, when he started the practice sessions at the Senior Bowl, looked like he wasn't putting out as much effort as everybody else. There was a guy that was standing behind us who had talked to Tutin's agent. Tutin was coming off of an injury. He was running about 80% at the Senior Bowl. Month fast forward, he goes out to the combine and absolutely blows everything away. The guy I'm going to talk about, we'll talk about him in this framework. He's what I'm going to call a post-hype sleeper. He had a sophomore breakout, 1,400 yards carries, 1,400 yards rushing. He had over 20 receptions in 2 of his 4 seasons. I was looking for this guy to come out as a junior declare last year, but he got hurt in 2023 and couldn't make it. And that's Raheim Sanders out of South Carolina, formerly Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, he went out to the combine and athletically looked pretty damn good. He came in at 217 pounds and 6 foot. It's a little bit short of the 225-pound threshold that I was hoping for, but he still is at 6 feet tall. At South Carolina last year, they weren't as focused on the running game as they had been, as Arkansas had been in the sophomore year. As yards per carry were down to about 4.8. That's still fairly respectable. But what he did at the combine is kind of remarkable. Out of all of the running backs, he had a 4.46 40 time and a top speed of 23.55. That was the fastest top speed recorded of any of the running backs that were out there. And that's at 217 pounds. His 10-yard split was 18-10. That's not great, but it's competitive. It wasn't Montrell Johnson. It wasn't Trevor Etienne, but it was still there. And his max acceleration was 5.9 miles per hour per second. That's getting it going. So if he can get into the open field, and we know that he can with his receiving ability, whether it's on a check down or like a wheel route or whatever, he can pick up his feet really, really quick. I'm really excited about Raheim Sanders. I've been waiting for him for 2 years, and he is going to be nothing in this draft, if not an extreme value. If there is a team that has been watching him since his sophomore year that is willing to take a shot on him, give him third or fourth round capital. He's in that RB 8 or 9 to RB 14 range as far as rankings are concerned. But I'm going to be valuing him as a late third, early fourth that could find his way onto the field and showcase that speed and ability. I love Rocket Sanders, and I'm excited about him.
I love that. Absolutely love that.
I'll keep this transparent. I haven't gotten to his film. He's on my list for tomorrow. So
don't watch the film.
So one thing important.
It tells you nothing.
One thing that's super important to note with Rocket Sanders is he was listed at 230 on ESPN and 242 on South Carolina's official website. So this is a guy that got into the training and they were like, hey, man, you probably stand to benefit if you lost, you shed a couple of LBs, you stopped eating the Oreos and leaving crumbs in your bed at night. And this guy dialed in and turned in a 4.4 and hit 23 miles an hour. So it'll be interesting to see if he decides to go back
23
up. 23 and a half. My bad. Don't disrespect the half, guys. That's basically 24 miles an hour. So yeah, I absolutely love Rocket Sanders. As someone who lives about 20 miles from where he played some college ball at, I've gotten pretty familiar with him. So yeah, I thought that was important to note. Like I was paying attention to the running backs as far as their what was their Senior Bowl weight if we got it, and then what was their combine weight, because you knew these guys were going to come in probably a little bit lighter, like we noted with Kaleb Johnson. Kaleb Johnson was just like, bro, I play football, I don't run 40s. So a lot of the guys came in a lot lighter. For example, another guy is Damian Martinez, but I wanted that to be an important note because he did shed so much weight and turn in such a great time in the 40.
Have you tried those Posty Oreos yet, though?
Not in the bed.
Dude,
are you kidding me?
So good. Oh my god,
caramel with
so
shortbread
good.
and chocolate cookies. They're insane.
I bought 2 packs. They literally made it 2.5 days in my house between me and my kids. We were just like, whoa.
Yeah,
So
they're the
good,
best
dude.
best Oreos since the Lady
I think I ate
Gaga.
half a sleeve on the way home from the store.
They're remarkable.
Well, those Oreos are getting as much hype as Jeremiah's guy. Who's your guy, Jeremiah?
Ooh.
Hey, let's look at Matthew Golden, top wide receiver prospect, a top one in the 2025 NFL draft. Speed, route running, big playability. He excelled in track in high school, had some success at Houston before transferring over to Texas. His final year at Texas started all 15 games, came through in big clutch moments. Remember the Peach Bowl, 162-yard performance, SEC championship, and he had that game winner touchdown in the Peach Bowl. His ability to perform in big games makes him a top prospect for the 2025 NFL draft. Now he's got the 4.29 40-yard dash, 99th percentile, 5'11", 191. He's about 10 pounds heavier and an inch taller than Tyler Lockett. Golden looks like a fluid route runner to me. He's got bounce in his step. He can break his route and turn to the ball and cut on a dime while bouncing off the turn and cutting upfield. So I see it as Golden has springs under his feet, which help him change direction and increase his maneuverability. Add to that, Golden can catch the ball over the top with ease, which is impressive for somebody his size. Golden plays bigger than his frame. I really like him. I know, DBro, you talked about, was it Jalen Noel across from CeeDee Lamb? I would love Matthew Golden to stay in Texas, right across CeeDee Lamb.
What if Elijah Moore actually succeeded?
Oh, man, let me tell you. Okay, what are the greater chances that Elijah Moore is bad or the Jets and the Browns are shit franchises at decision-making?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
Well, okay, yeah. I'm gonna float this out there. I'm gonna crush a little bit of your guys' buzz on Matthew Golden, and because one of the Atlantic models that I put a lot of faith in, and the guys over on the Undroppables have been working really hard on putting it together, is the UN score. And in their model, Matthew Golden doesn't fare very well, but also is a pretty good comp to a guy named Henry Ruggs. So I'm going to leave that there for you, and to kind of just dig a little bit deeper into, because he's getting all the buzz right now because he ran that 40 time. He's going to get into probably the first round because of it. So maybe just some cautionary tales here, because his analytic profile doesn't exactly match up to what he's been showing out as far as his athleticism goes.
Does the unscore show that he loves Top Golf, drinking, and hates women and dogs?
No.
Okay. To be fair, Henry Ruggs was a fairly good prospect, and he was a deep threat. He got behind defenses, and for a very short time, he killed
literally
killed the Jets.
Got behind defenses for a short time and behind bars for a long time.
All right, go ahead, DBro. Cook.
Quinn Ewers is the analytical model destroyer. Like, how many wide receivers do we have to see come out of Texas where their analytics don't match up to their film? I was not the biggest Adonai Mitchell fan. I was not. But I loved Xavier Worthy. I like Golden a lot. I will own this too, and just being transparent here, I did not see 4.29 in the bag for him. I sure as hell didn't. And so I don't like to double count. I don't double count guys. Like, if I'm like, okay, if you're fast, you're fast. Like, the hell with this shit. Golden is a guy that I did bump up my ranks because I was like, I didn't see him being that fast. So it changes. Like, he's on my list to go back next week, and I'm going to rewatch all of his film and stuff like that and be like, did I just miss this? Like, did I have a headache? Like, was it late at night? Like, when I'm watching his film, like, do I need to go back and revisit some of this stuff? But like, you put that kind of speed on it, And tell me, who does this sound like over the last few years? And I'll give you a hint. Ohio State wide receiver. Burner for days, has speed, wins with route running. He ain't going to offer you much as far as
Terry.
anything after the catch.
No, it's
dude,
not Terry.
He's not offering you a ton after the catch. He ain't breaking a ton of tackles, but he's going to route your ass up, and he's fast as shit. Dude, there's a lot of things where it's like, okay, if he's really that fast, I go back to the film. I already know he can route people up. His route running is how he wins, man. Like his route technician, like he's a route tactician. You add that speed on top of it, dude. Like, are we talking about Chris Olave 2.0 here?
And the thing is that according to Sumer, 40 time is the biggest correlation between combine results and draft value. And so it does move. And we know that wide receivers benefit most from draft capital.
I'm curious what that model would look like if we took out all the Al Davis picks.
You know, but so speed equals draft capital equals fantasy success. That's why I moved Golden up in my ranks, because he was behind Isaiah Bond for a little while.
Hey, Gold Bond.
Wow.
Yep. It's a medicated powder.
Bond's legs are still trying to catch up to his mouth. So
for when you have that itch that you just can't get to. All right. That's going to wrap it up for the Dynasty Pulse. If you are with us on FSAN, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment down below. Tell us how big idiots we are, and DBro is the sharp that we should be listeing to. If you are on...
Those comments will be directed at me.